Good afternoon, everybody. So sometimes we find that our mind is like a lack of energy. Like it's just like you just feel like you're getting nowhere. And sometimes people try very hard to try to focus on the meditation object. And lots of times people find that the harder they try, the worse. You know, the harder you try, and and then it leads to lots of frustration. There's a lot of people think that meditation is only on the cushion. What went before actually is important. Sometimes we have to look at what are the qualities that we need to develop to support our meditation. Actually, that is important. And a lot of people just tend to overlook. They think that, okay, yeah, well, I'm sitting on, and they jump on the cushion, and then they try very hard to focus and focus and focus. Sometimes that leads to lots of frustration. But you have to make some, create the condition, and you have to have those qualities to support your meditation. That is important. So that's why sometimes we need to reflect and need to check, investigate what are the qualities you need to develop to help you with your meditation. That is important. So in one of the teaching the Buddha gives to his monk, that the Buddha said there's the 5 factors that help to assist this striving, because we need to strive to arouse energy. Sometimes we need to have the energy to practice, even be able to focus on our meditation object. So we need to have that the energy, the inspiration, that be able to focus on our meditation object. So that is important. So the Buddha said this is the first factor, this striving factor. The Buddha said that is the faith, saddha. That is important, because if we don't have the faith, sometimes people only have the faith in the Buddha. So we reflect on the qualities of the Buddha. So the Buddha then this gives rise to the faith. But it's not the faith, that the blind faith that we believe the Buddha's, that enlightenment, and he can help us to get enlightened. So that is without wisdom. That is not the kind of faith. It's not the blind faith. The faith that we have the complete confidence in the Buddha, the fact that the Buddhas get enlightened, me too, ourselves to have the potential to get enlightened. We to be able to do that, because a lot of people tend to underestimate and overlook this faith, because this is really arouse the energy, the inspiration, because sometimes we need to have that to keep us going. Because every day, we meditate and say, the same whole breath is just so uninteresting. But sometimes we need to have some inspiration, the faith. So when we have the faith, we have this confidence in ourselves. So we reflect on the fact that the Buddha's enlightened, and it's possible for us to get enlightened. So if we don't have the faith in ourselves that we be able to enlighten, we don't bother to do the practice, isn't it? Since I can't, we can't get enlightened. Only the Buddha, only those special beings, they be able to do that. So why bother, to put forth effort, since I can't, So that's why it's important, if we don't have the confidence in ourselves, the faith in ourselves, that we be able to get enlightened. So we will not arouse the energy. Sometimes we know for ourselves, isn't it, when sometimes we have the inspiration, we have the faith in ourselves, we really have the heroic, energy aroused, then we really can see it. And that we need that sometimes, that to support our meditation. This is one of the factors. The first one, the Buddha mentioned faith. It's important to arouse the energy. And this kind of energy is different from the energy from pursuing the sensory pleasure, like getting what we want from the craving. Because that kind of energy actually is quite draining. Afterwards it leads you to, draining. But this kind of energy, like the energy come from faith, come from inspiration, this kind of energy actually leads you to peace. This is leads you to peace. It's different kind of energy. It's not the energy from anger. When someone get angry because the energy, you feel alive. But why some people like to get angry? Because they feel alive. Make them feel that I'm alive. But afterwards, you feel really draining. Because it's just like the energy is just like borrow, And after that, you have to pay back. You feel really drained. So that's why we need to have this arouse this energy to help us to keep going, to be able to focus. And also, the faith also help us to overcome the fifth hindrance, that is doubt. Sometimes we have doubt whether I'm practicing correctly, whether that is I'm doing the right thing, then you have doubt. So you'll not be able to really focus your mind on the meditation object because of doubt. You're not sure. So you'll not be able to really apply your mind and focus on the meditation object. That's why it's important. It's help to not only to arouse the energy, and it's help to overcome the fifth hindrances, that is the doubt. So the second factor the Buddha's mentioned is very interesting. That is that you need to have a relatively healthy body, to do the work. Just imagine if you are too sick, it's difficult, isn't it? So it's not that, because sometimes when people listen to the teaching, when the Buddha said, you don't attach to the body, and we're going to get old, we're going to get sick, we're going to die. And some people go to very extreme. They say, I don't care the body, I let go. So it becomes like attached to letting go. So they just, abuse the body. So this is not what the Buddha's meant. So we have to look after the body. And sometimes this is how the Buddha said that people swing from one end to another. So we either attach to the body very much or we abuse the body. So sometimes people think, you see, the Buddha said we should look after our body. And sometimes people become very obsessed and very becomes a freak, so worry about the health. Just imagine if we constantly worry about our health, that we're going to get sick, we can't practice, and it actually affects our mind. So it's become very stressful, and mentally and also physically. So that is important, we look after, but the Buddha said this is the middle way. So when we are sick, we need to see doctor, we see doctor, but not to worry so much about our health. And then we become like, some people become so paranoid. And I have someone that, she did the right things. So she makes sure that she meditate and she eat the right food, she do the right thing. And when she was being diagnosed with cancer, she couldn't believe that. She said, how come I have cancer? I do the right thing. I meditate. I live a healthy life. But because it's very subtle, you don't know. Because underneath you have the worries, the fears, a lot of stress, because she eat health food, and spend so much time, to looking after the body and become so stressful. So because it's so subtle, then that's why she becomes so stressed. When we are stressed, actually mentally will affect our physical health. That is the immune system, affect the immune system. So that's why we have to look at that with the striving. One of the factors to have a healthy body, we got to look after, not to abuse, but not to attach. That is the middle way. Actually, it's very hard though, isn't it? And the third one the Buddha's mentioned is very interesting. He said honesty and openness. He said honesty. So because when we ourselves have the honesty, have the inner integrity. So when we have the honesty, we have the trust. You see, then we don't have to worry, isn't it? Like if we distrust others, so constantly we suspicious, we have fear. So we're living in the fear, suspicious of others. We have this distrust. So when we have the honesty, because we do not worry, because we know that, I have not done anything, caused any harm to others. We have so much faith and confidence. We have the trust that, other people, we're not constantly suspicious of others. So we become more relaxed. So we know for ourselves, isn't it? When we have fear, how do we feel our body? The feeling, the sensation, we feel tight, isn't it? We feel tense up. When we worry, when we have fear, that is tense up. So the body is not relaxed, the mind is not relaxed. You worry. So when you have that honesty, because you tend to relax, because you trust, you don't worry, you have no fear, then you relax. When your mind relax, your body relax, your mind open. You have the openness. You're more receptive. You're more open. You relax. You have more. The mind become more spacious, more receptive. That is important. So we have to develop this quality. Sometimes we have to investigate. If we find that, I'm getting nowhere. So what are the ingredients that we need? We lack of. What are the qualities we need to develop to support our meditation? So this is the third factor the Buddha said. The fourth one the Buddha mentioned, that is the effort, the right effort. It's the right effort. That is not to allow the unwholesome state of mind to arise. And if it's already arisen, the unwholesome state of mind arisen, we abandon it. We try to stop that, not to allow the mind to go further. But if we can't do that, sometimes it's too intense, so we try to substitute, replace with a thoughts of loving kindness, replace a wholesome thoughts, replace the unwholesome thoughts with a wholesome thoughts. Because this is important sometimes when the mind is too active. And the thinking, too much thinking, it's just charging. It's just like travel on the highway, 120 kilometers per hour. You try to stop it. You can't, isn't it? You can't. So that's why it's important that we replace the thoughts. Because we can't stop the thinking, we replace the thought. It's still thinking, it's still the active thinking, but there is a wholesome thinking. Because those unwholesome thinking, unwholesome thoughts, that is very draining and leads us to drain lots of energy. So when we have wholesome thoughts, actually it's aroused energy again. So then we try to maintain, to allow that wholesome thoughts, maintain in our mind. So that when we have these wholesome thoughts, then these unwholesome thoughts will not just easily, creep in easily. So because we feel that with wholesome thoughts. That's why it's important. Every day, every morning we get up early in the morning, the first thing in the morning, we just deliberately, to bring thoughts of loving kindness, to the mind. So to train the mind. So because the mind is a conditioned thing. So we have to train the mind. It's just like the computer. It's like the default setting, You set the mind, you bring that thoughts. So you become a mental habitual pattern. Whatever you think, you have the wholesome thinking, wholesome thoughts. But of course, it needs times to train. It's not happen overnight. So you bring that. So when you fill your mind with the wholesome thoughts, then the unwholesome thoughts is not likely to creep in. So that is important. So for example, if you know that we have lots of anger, so we try to practice more loving kindness, but of course it's not easy. It will still come, sometimes when especially your mind is not strong enough, calm enough to be able to really just to maintain that non-reactive awareness, not to suck in, is not easy. It takes time to practice. That's why it's little by little. So every day, we have to look at it. We have to investigate. We reflect. Because it's important. Because the Buddha's call this wise reflection. The wise reflections actually help us to develop mindfulness. Because the mindfulness have this, we remind ourselves, because we tend to forget. So when we remind ourselves again and again, that is one aspect of that. Then it's develop this mindfulness to remember. So that's why it's important if you want to have a progress in your meditation, to be able to really strive, arouse the energy to overcome sloth and torpor, especially sloth and torpor, and also the doubt. And these 5 striving factors is really useful. It's really helped you, to strive for your enlightenment, for your progress in the Dharma, in your meditation. That's why it's important that when we feel that sometimes that we have no progress, getting nowhere, we find that very difficult to focus on our meditation object. This is some of the qualities that we need to develop. We need to help ourselves. We have to create the condition to support the meditation. There's a lot. It's not only it's not only by one thing that I want to get enlightened. I want to practice it, and then it's not that. You have to create the condition. So it's not by using willpower. We have to use the wisdom power to investigate what qualities that I need to develop in order to have progress in the path. So I offer this for your reflections and hope that this will help you for your own striving, for your own enlightenments and also progress in the Dhamma. So now we can start to sit in meditations till 4 o'clock. Just sit and just simply relax your body. Let go of the past and let go of the future. And bring your mind to this present moment of awareness. When your body started to relax, your mind will feel relaxed and open. And you don't have to look for the breath. The breath will come to you naturally. When the breath comes to you naturally, you just simply focus on your breath, in breath and out breath. Any questions or comments?
I thought what you had to say was so interesting about energy, different types of energy. But I also thought it was incredibly interesting what you had to say about the 5, whatever you called them, factors that help you with meditation. And the one that suddenly stuck in my mind was the one about fear. Because there is such a lot of fear in our society, and there is a lot of fear at this time of the year around Christmas with material things that are being bought, can be stolen and lost. And I wondered, did the Buddha have anything to say about, well, you know, if you have put out loving kindness and you also are wise enough to say, well, you know, I'm going to be trusting and I'm going to, whatever else you said, trusting and thinking positively that all will be well. Even when you do that, of course, the world is the world, and it's not always that nothing ever happens to you, no matter how well you have practiced your meditation. So did he have anything to say about how to handle it when you lose something that is... Because at this time we are buying expensive things, we are giving expensive things at times, and the thought of losing them sends us into a bit of fear, either in household things or even our cars and so on. Did you make any comments on that, other than that perhaps material things? Perhaps if you lose it, you didn't need it, I don't know.
Okay. And yes, because this is how actually the sense of self, we constantly looking for security. Some people find securities in people, in relationship, and some people find securities in place. You know, only if I got this wonderful place, you know, I'd be safe, I'd be okay. And or some people try to find securities in material things. And that is the nature of this sense of self. You want to have the security. So this is how we've been again and again reborn in this samsara, because come from that the craving to be, and because of we need to have the securities. So the fear arises. We want to lose that. You know, that's why this is whole path of practice is a gradual training. There's no shortcut. So the reason why, like the Buddha said, one of the 4 foundation stones for for this path to enlightenment, that is generosity. Practice generosity is not because I'm a nun or a monk and I try to say that how good it is to give things, you know, to monastery so that you support. Actually, it's ultimately you are the one who benefit. Because there is a gradual training of letting go. Because of we can't let go because we need these securities, you know. So these stages of letting go. So they said when we let go of our material things, that is the first, the causal level of letting go, the first step, you know. So if we can't let go of, you know, these material things, how can we let go of those more subtle, like greed, hatred, you know, all those emotions that are much, much subtle. So that's why we have to, you know, let go little by little. We cannot force the mind to say, let go, we can't. We have to let go of the causal defilements to a more subtle. So when we let go of the causal happiness, like the Buddha never denied that, you know, sometimes we got what we want. We have the happiness, we're happy, But the soul happiness is very fleeting. It's not going to last. And that is the cause of happiness. If we be able to let go, so not to rely on the happiness that comes from getting things, then we have this happiness that independent. So the happiness within ourselves, this kind of happiness, actually the Buddhas really encourage us to pursue this kind of happiness. The happiness is not come from getting things or in relationships. The happiness then from outside, that dependence on the object outside, but rather independent within us. For example, we help someone, we feel happy. That kind of happiness. And usually this kind of happiness, the Buddhists call this wholesome happiness. When this wholesome happiness that leads to peace and calm. Like those happiness that are unwholesome lead us to more suffering. So we want more and more. So then this is how when you be able to let go the causal level of happiness, then sometimes you hold on to being good, doing good, being a good person, and then eventually we still have to hold on to the goodness because we can't just let go. So it's just like if you want to cross the river, we need to make use of the raft, to cross. We cannot say let go in the middle of the river, then we sunk. We will immediately sink. So we have to make use of that. That's why we hold on to goodness. So being kind person, good person, we're doing that, but still have the sense of self. But ultimately, when we be able to let go, this is the most difficult, is the sense of self. That is the last thing. So in these 5 hindrances, that is the first one, desires, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness, and doubt. The first one is the most difficult to abandon, the last one. Because there's 3 kinds of craving. Craving for material things, craving for sensory pleasure, and we craving to be, and craving not to be. Do want to be, some people said, it's too much suffering. And this is why sometimes people commit suicide. Craving not to be. Craving is still craving. Craving not to be. And this is a very good example, one of my friends. So we've been practicing together, a lot of times, very good friends. So, and she's good, she'd be able to recollect her past life. So she was a monk in her past life. So because of she see the suffering, she said, I want to free of suffering. I want not to be reborn. And she practiced very hard. And she becomes a craving not to be. It's still craving. You see, because it's so subtle. And she practiced so hard to the point that she got migraine headache, and she got very sick because she used lots of willpower to push herself. So that is the letting go of this sense of self is the last, very subtle. So that's why this is a gradual training. You let go of your material things. And then that is like a ladder, you hold on to, you let go of the cause of happiness, then you have the more refined happiness. That is the greater happiness. Like the happiness come from doing good, the happiness come from, something, you listen to a Buddha's teaching, you got inspired, that kind of happiness. So that is the greater happiness. That is the lesser happiness. But we still need, the Buddha said, to develop this wisdom. Actually, the happiness is come first. Only happy mind can do that. Just imagine if you are too miserable and too sad, you just can't, you have no energy because that is really draining. You have no energy at all. So, because when you are happy, the happy mind is an energetic mind. You feel energetic, energized. You know for yourself, isn't it? When you're happy, you're energized. So ultimately, that's beyond that, even beyond good or bad. So that is really out of samsara. So when we are holding on to good, so we still come back, rebirth, that we reborn to a good place. So if beyond good or bad, there is no more karma. So you won't be coming back. That is beyond that. Of course, that is the freedom, that is the enlightenment. That's why practice generosity. That is really helpful to let go from little by little. To let go of what we would like to have, but we give it away. Then slowly we let go more. Let go of our craving, little by little, craving for maybe sometimes even we crave for a piece of chocolate. So it seems like very small, isn't it? But that is little by little. We practice, through little by little. Because this is the Buddha says this is a very gradual training. So we cannot force our mind, even sometimes theoretically. Intellectually, we understand. But the mind itself have to see itself and let go. It's not through willpower and through our wanting. We can't let go through that. That is the wisdom. So the wisdom is not those worldly knowledge. It's just like one of the Chinese saying. They said wisdom cannot be understood. It can be realized. It cannot be understood. So this wisdom is come from our own direct experience, direct knowledge, the understanding. That we realize it ourselves, the insight. It's not come from the books, it's not come from intellectual, from analyzing. So this is only through that, little by little. That's like, yes, you have to practice, letting go of the material things first, and then that is slowly, then you come to let go of the craving, great hatred and delusion, the more subtle. So there is a very gradual path. So I don't know whether it's answer your questions or make sense to you.
I guess you're also saying that if you have it and you lose it,
yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
Somehow to still feel generosity for other people, not to be full of hate. Is that what you're saying? It's just to be able to be able to understand this happens and not to take it personally, so seriously, or with anger and fear that it can happen again, because it can happen, but it really isn't a big thing.
Yeah. It's only material things.
That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. There's only material things anyway. And you have more happiness that you can't, you have more, those more refined happiness, greater happiness than this material, the happiness come from the material things. Okay. So, any more questions now? So, there's a question that during the meditation, when I notice that my mind is thinking, although I come back to watching the breath easily, the feelings of failure, of not being good enough, stay with me. So until the end of the meditation, I'm very sad and feel that I fail to meditate. How can I find a way out from that? So because of, it's again compared to the sense of self. We couldn't accept the fact that, because the one of the things that people have this should. I should be able to focus on my meditation object. I should be able. So that's come from the sense I should. So it's fine. Sometimes we have to understand, because this is a training. You have to train the mind. So it's going to happen overnight. At times we be able to focus, at times we can't. So that's why whenever we have this sense of failure, then we have to have this, bring out this loving kindness, that is to acknowledge that and to accept that. But the problem is we identify ourselves as a failure. So So we couldn't focus on our meditation object right now. Doesn't mean that we're failure, because sometimes we have many other conditions, that leading to that. For example, like something happened in the family, let's say, and something quite traumatic, so going on. Some of the past, emotion come out because it's there, and a lot of people think that meditation is all about always happiness. It's not, because sometimes, for example, like we have someone, they practice for a few days, was really calm, really peaceful. She really liked it. Then after come to the 10 days, she started to have a lot of emotion. Sadness comes out, and she couldn't handle it. Then I said, actually, it is quite normal, because you take off the top layer when your mind go deeper. So then this is then that is what inside. It's just like a meditation is just like you're cleaning your house. Sometimes you look, clean, tidy, but as you go underneath your bed, you see all the rubbish underneath. Then this is how we go deeper. We see all the rubbish underneath. But we couldn't accept that. That is the fact that we still have lots of work to do. Instead of with these negativities, think that, we feel guilty. We think that we are not good enough. But why not we look in a positive way? Wow, at least I know that I still have this, at least we awake to that. It's not being deluded, thinking that we are really good, and pretend that it's not there. But, we awake to that. It's not whatever that we experience is really matter. Actually, do we aware of that? So I remember some times ago, someone said to me, she said, I have lots of anger, and I always angry with my sister. And she said, how do I cope with that? And there's a younger, 16 years old. Then I look at her, I said, very good. And she was so surprised said, why I said that she's very good? I said, at least you know that you have anger. At least you're aware of that. At least you're awake to that. At least you know that this is something that you need to work with, rather than you are not knowing. Some people don't even know that this is something that they need to work with. There is the defilements there. That is to awake to that, to look at it, rather than to think that we fail. That is, again, it's come from the sense of self, We couldn't accept the fact that, we are not good enough. They say sometimes it's a very good mantra that John Brahm used to say. You keep telling yourself, it's good enough, it's good enough, it's good enough. So you become like a mantra. Because yes, a lot of people, they always think that they're not good enough. So if you think that you're not good enough, that you're not good enough. That is the negativity. That's why we have to change our attitude. But of course, it's not overnight. We have to develop this positive attitude. Because it's not the attitude towards meditation is important. If we have to serve, like we have this positive attitude, that is important. Whatever we do, we look at it in a positive way, rather than looking at, I still have anger. At least, wow, it's still there. Oh, this is something that I need to work with. At least you're aware to that, rather than you say, rather than I don't know, rather than now I know that this is something that I need to work with, rather than, thinking that, gee, I'm still, I still have these defilements, I still have this anger. So that is this important that we develop this positive attitude. The attitude is important, that how we look at things. There's always two ways of looking at things. See how you look at it. We will never change the fact. But if we change our attitude, the way we relate to things, it's a great difference. It's just for example, when my mother passed away, when I had the sense of I lost her, I feel sad. But when I change the other way around to look at things, I look at that I got her for all these years, and she's such a beautiful person. How fortunate I am. Then immediately I feel happy. I feel that I have this gratitude and lots of appreciations. I feel that I'm so fortunate. But it didn't change the fact that my mother is already passed away. But because I look at things in a different angle, rather think that the things that I don't have, I look at what I have. So this is important that to this person that you develop this positive attitude. But it's important. Some people feel guilty if they don't have this positive attitude. It's just said that it's just yet. It's just all we need to do is just to develop. We haven't got it now yet. It's fine. We can develop it. And again, this is not to feel guilty, not to beating ourselves up. So this is, how one of the way to overcome that we think that we are not good enough. That is to develop this positive attitude. And also the gratitude is important because this gratitude, but everything is good enough. If we don't have gratitude, we don't have that appreciation. We do not appreciate the fact that, we have this body and we have the chance to listen to the Buddha's teaching. We have the opportunities to practice itself. We're full of gratitude, isn't it? So it's already good enough. We must have lots of good karma in order to come to here. So we look at it in things in that way. That is really good enough. So it's a gradual process. It's not going to happen overnight. So any more questions or comments?